Welcome to Cryptid Crossroads 505. I'm Larry.
And I'm Vince,
Welcome to the show.
where we talk all things cryptid,
Sasquatch,
aliens,
hauntings.
and anything paranormal you would like to share with us.
You can reach us at cryptidcrossroads505@gmail.com.
So settle in, open your mind, and enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome to Cryptid Crossroads. We're here doing it once again. I'm here with my co-host Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad to have you here.
That's right. So tonight we got a special guest with us, and we have him on the line. And I'm going to let my brother introduce him because he's the one that brought him on.
Yeah, this is someone I've known for quite a while. I've tried to get him on here. It's just a timing thing, coordination, but we finally got him. And Tater, you there?
I am here.
Okay, say hi to everyone.
Hello there, everybody out in Cryptic Crossroads 505 land.
Okay,
Alright.
so as you know, we start with a shot. We usually do our shot, then we bring in our guest, but we're going to do a little different today because Tater's going to do a shot with us.
That's right.
Yes, I am.
Even though he's not in the studio.
He's doing a remote shot, but you'll
yeah.
still hear it. All right, so here we go. Here's TL.
Okay, bottoms up,
Bottoms
Tater.
up.
Cheers.
Okay.
My,
Smooth.
yeah.
Now, we had a little vial of Sasquatch here, and that's what we drank. So if you want to find a Squatch, you got to be the Squatch.
That's right. That's what they say. If you want to find one, you got to be one.
Okay, now to start off with, speaking of Squatch, I guess a few years ago, Tater, do you remember you were out camping and you had something strange happen? I remember it was not long after that you called me and told me about it.
Yeah, so it was me and my girlfriend had gone up to Wheatfield. It's probably been years ago on now, but probably 3 years ago maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
something
a little
like
longer.
that. Yeah.
So we had taken the weekend and went on a trip up there and just kind of get away, do a little bit of camping, some fishing and stuff. So got up there on, the Friday night type deal and stayed the whole weekend. Friday night, there wasn't any activity, nothing out of the ordinary. Well, Saturday night came along and we were sitting around and kind of got done with dinner and stuff and kind of sitting around the campfire. Still no activity, nothing out of the ordinary. Well, about 10:30, we decide, well, it's about long enough. We're going to get up early in the morning and head home. So we call it a night. Well, all of a sudden, it's just one of those feelings you get. It just uneasy feeling, or I don't even know what you want to call it. But I had my firearm with me there, my pistol with me, and so I kind of kept it a little bit closer than I had been all weekend. And so we go ahead and go to sleep. And so about, I don't know, 1 or 2, something like that in the morning, I hear these dogs just going absolutely berserk, and hadn't heard them all weekend long. So I thought, what the hell are they barking at, and where'd they come from? One of those types of deals. But, out there on the Navajo reservation, you kind of used to that and stuff. So I get out of the tent, kind of go take a look around. Well, all of a sudden, way back behind me, and it's deep forest back there. I mean, it's thick, and not sure exactly. I think it's Highway 12 or something runs right through there, but it's on the other side of that. Well, I start hearing something loud making its way through the woods, and I hear, like limbs breaking and stuff like that, and then I would hear what I didn't know at the time until I've since listened to you guys and started watching some shows and stuff, but the tree knocks. But it was louder than I'd ever heard anything before like that in my life. It wasn't like a little twig and something a person, even take a baseball bat to a tree, or it was nothing like that. I mean, it was a big ass, knock. And so I heard it, and it kind of started on, kind of like say the left side of me if I'm looking out towards the woods, and these dogs are still just going berserk. Well, the noise goes through the forest and it just kind of keeps making it like a halfway or like a half circle around, and the dogs are still going nuts, and it's following. And so I can hear the noises, and I hear another knock, and so it's like two separate knocks is what I'm thinking, but I can't tell whether they've moved and it's the same person, right? And I don't really quite know what the hell's going on. I'm kind of freaked out at this point anyway. So all of a sudden the dogs just, you could hear them getting closer to the whatever it was out there, and all of a sudden I hear a yelp, and then the cry of the dog, and then it ended. All the cry, everything just stopped, and it was like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him, picked up the dog. Whatever he did to the dog, it was dead. It was gone. It was silence out there. And then the rest of the dogs just kind of, I didn't hear anything else out of them. So at first it seems like there was 3 or 4 dogs, but then once the one got killed, it just went silent. And I heard a little bit more movement after that. And then I heard maybe one more knock, and that was it. It was, and so I'm wide awake, and last thing on my mind was, like you guys always talk about, people always say, go get your cell phone. Well, there's no cell phone service out there, so I'm not even carrying it. I think it's either in the truck or in the tent or turned off, or I don't even have it close to me.
Right. So
that was about the last thing on my mind, because I'm freaked out. I got, a couple of clips full of bullets right there. I'm like, well, I'm going to empty this son of a bitch if this thing comes towards me, but whatever it is. So kind of sat through the night, and I waited and waited for something else to happen, and it remained pretty quiet after that. There wasn't nothing else. I never heard the dogs again.
Right.
Never heard anything else in the forest. And so, but I damn sure didn't get any more sleep. So I stayed out all night, stayed up the rest of the night, and got the fire going, kept it going. My girlfriend was asleep in the tent, never heard a single thing,
Wow.
had no idea what was going on. So I didn't wake her up. I didn't want to freak her out, so.
Yeah.
Then the morning time came along, and, I kind of came down a little bit from my adrenaline pump, and I got to I was sitting there processing it all night long, and I still couldn't figure out what the hell was that? What did I hear? What was going on? What makes that much noise? What's
Right.
that big that's out there? And so, like you guys always talk about, well, you kind of know the sounds that are out there, you can tell if it's, bear or, something else like that. And it was something 3 or 4 times the size of a bear that was making this noise. And the tree knocks is the thing that got me. There was nothing I've ever heard that was that loud.
Right. And what else does that?
Yeah, what else does that? And so, I hindsight, looking back, I wish I would have gone in the morning and gone and, kind of looking around over there and see if I could have seen any prints
Or a dead
but
dog.
at that point, yeah, or the dead dog, you know what I mean? Yeah, hanging in a tree, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was just so freaked out that we just kind of loaded up and
Right.
we left. And like Vince says, I got back into cell phone service, and the second I did, his number was already dialing. I said, I don't know what the hell happened to me, but this is what happened. And
Right.
so it scared the shit out of me. It took me a couple of days, and I kept telling him, I said, I got to think it was a Bigfoot. It has to have been. Nothing else makes sense.
Right.
Because I'm trying to process it in my head of something that size, something, what you heard and everything, and it's like there's nothing else out there that
Right.
could do what that did.
We try to process what we're hearing, but everything they taught us in school or whatever we've learned about the creatures that are in this forest, it just don't make sense. And that's
It
why
goes out the window.
And that's why it's kind of hard to process. And like me, when I had my experience, I didn't get no sleep that night either after. And, I laid in bed when I got home thinking, what in the hell happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Your mind can't process what you witnessed or not. Well, what you just went through. I mean, I don't even know if that makes any sense, but I mean, you guys have had your experiences too. So
Right. And,
yeah,
and that's why after we started this, you know, I started telling my story to a few people, and of course some people thought I was a crackpot. And that's why now if somebody tells me a story, you know, I will genuinely listen, and you could tell by a person's body language, or you know, or if they believe what they heard or saw. So I will never ever call anyone a liar again, because I wasn't there, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean, you.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it's just crazy, and I mean, the way you explained it to me, I mean, what else could it be? And I know we talked about it for a while, and man, and didn't you tell me? I don't know. It was sometime after that your girlfriend's kids went camping in the Jemez, and they nothing probably as crazy as you heard, but they heard something. They said there was something going on up there.
Yeah, I mean, they were the same type of thing where they couldn't explain the noises they were hearing.
Right.
And, you know, and they didn't seem too freaked out about it that they couldn't explain it, but I don't know. Maybe people react different, you know. I mean, maybe some people just, you know, can accept it a little bit easier or whatever. It took me a while to process and kind of figure it out. But yeah, I've been through the mountains up there. In fact, we went on a bike ride through up there, but
yeah. And we found
I haven't
Sasquatch.
been up there camping. Yeah, exactly. That's when we did see him.
Oh, big
Got off and took some pictures.
Yep, archery target, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was a buddy that was doing an archery target, so had to get out and take a picture.
So when you started hearing these tree knocks or anything, did this supposedly, and I believe when you say it's a Bigfoot, because we always hear crazy noises out in the wilderness. So did it make any vocalizations or grunts or nothing?
I couldn't hear like the grumbling like I've heard Vince or you talk about that, you know, when you hear the grumblings and all that. I never did hear that. And so I really, to this day, I don't know if there was one or two, like you guys say, they're in packs.
Right. And
I got to think there was two, and maybe one was leading the dogs that was kind of, you know, being a nuisance to them, if not any other word I could think of, that's how they ended up, you know, either cornering them, killing them, whatever they did, you know. I mean, in my mind, they killed the dog or dogs. It may have been more than one they killed. I don't know. Maybe that's why I didn't hear them the rest of the night. So
right. Now I've heard stories about people have said that the Bigfoot were friends with their dogs, or dogs would go up to them. But I've also heard other people who say, no way, I don't believe that, because of the way my dogs react to them. And like you said, the way those dogs were reacting to them.
Right. I recently shared a post on Facebook, and it's a 911 call of a man calling in. And it's a famous 911 call. Wes from Sasquatch Chronicles uses a little expert of that. And it's the man saying, you know, it killed my dog, you know, and then he's telling the 911 operator, it's looking right at me. You got to get someone out here. So I think it depends on the interaction and what type of creature, because as we've said, there's different types. Just like we believe there's different types of humans, we believe there's different types of these creatures. And depending on where you're at, what location, what geography, you're going to have different experiences.
Right, exactly. And so I heard Vince say this even after his, you know, encounter, that, man, I should have went and talked to the neighbors that were there. And I didn't even think of that either, because there was other campers out there. I mean, we were kind of spread out, you know, but I mean, there was other people out there. So
right. And
but I don't know, because how do you even start that conversation? Hey, did you hear what? Yeah.
And you run the risk of them saying, "What? Are you out of your mind?"
Yeah. What were you smoking last night? Well,
yeah. And the campers, when I had my experience, they were probably about a quarter mile away, and they heard it because they came out of their camper and they started, "Hey!" yelling, and that's when that one turned around, started coming back. But you know, going and talking to them was the last thing on my mind. I wanted to get back to the campsite, pack up, and get out of there.
Right.
Yeah, I was, you know, like I said, my girlfriend was asleep in the tent. I didn't want to wake her because I already knew that reaction. The second I woke her up, it was going to be, let's get the hell out of here. You know, it's one of those types of deals. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep her safe. I'm going to stay awake. You know, if it comes in, I'm unloading both clips I have here. You know, I mean, I think I had 15 in each, and so it was one of those that I'm gonna unload if I need to, but
Right. But you hope it don't come to that.
yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't come this way. And it never really got too close, but so yeah, I didn't see nothing like eye shine, nothing like that. I didn't, you know, nothing but the big noises, and I just couldn't comprehend what the hell was going through the woods that could make that much noise.
Now, you said the day before you kind of had that uneasy feeling. Now, when we had our experience the day before, my daughter told me she had an uneasy feeling like we were being watched. Was that the kind of the feeling you had?
Yeah, because I kind of gone away from the lake a little bit. She was fishing, and we weren't having any luck, and so I said, you know what, I'm kind of take a stroll, you know, and do a little bit of hiking. And so I went, but I didn't go too far away, you know, quarter of a mile or whatever it was, and I got around the part where it was a wooded area, and that's when the feeling hit of, man, something's watching me. I don't know what the hell it is, and
Right.
yeah, you don't know how to explain that to somebody. It's just like it's just an uneasy feeling of, all right, I'm losing my mind. I think somebody's looking at me, but there's nobody around, and so
Right. Now, now I've had this conversation with, well, you know, we both used to work in the Grants area, and you're from that area. Actually, you're from close to that area, and there's a lot of hunters out there. So they always tell me, I've been hunting these mountains my whole life, and I've never seen anything. And I always tell them, well, that don't mean that they didn't see you.
Right.
They saw the gun you were carrying, and maybe they steered clear of you.
Right, exactly. So
yeah. You said you had your sidearm. When I had my encounter, all I had was a flashlight, and
see, I would have been a nervous wreck. That would have been 10 times worse.
Right, but was that why they came in closer? Because they knew I didn't have a firearm, or
that could be,
or because I had
maybe they're that observant, you know.
Right. Well, I'm sure they've seen hunters and they know what that boomstick can do, you know.
Right, exactly.
Now, or was it that I had two young girls with me? Like I said, I think one was female, so maybe that mother instinct, she wanted to get closer. Who knows, you know? But it's just crazy. Now, after your experience, like for me, for a while, it changed camping altogether for me. For one, I did not want to go. But when I went, I wanted to be armed to the teeth.
Right, exactly. And I don't know, I rarely go somewhere without one. I mean, you know, wherever I'm headed, just as a precaution, you know, you just don't know know anymore these days.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And so that was one of the first things I had loaded, you know, but I mean, as far as, yeah, I don't know what I would have done if I wouldn't have had one. I know what I would have done. I think I would have already been loaded up and gone. We would have been out of there at midnight or 30 minutes after the episode had happened. You know, I mean,
30 minutes or 30 seconds.
Well, either or, probably seconds.
As fast as he can.
Yeah,
exactly.
Or you would have been like me. Screw the tent. We'll come back for it in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. That was smart on your part there to come back and get in the daylight. So.
Well, I told my kids, I'll leave it up to you. When you don't feel comfortable, we'll leave. And just like that, they're in the truck looking at me like, what are we waiting for?
Yeah, let's go, Dad.
Okay, now just to tell, so our listeners know, like I mentioned, we all grew up in relatively the same area here in New Mexico, and you're not a stranger to the forest or any of that. So that's why these noises were really something different for you.
Well, see, to even kind of give a little more history, I grew up on the Navajo reservation. My parents were Navajo traders. I mean, we owned a trading post out on the reservation.
Right.
And so the first 10 years of my life, I lived out there on the reservation.
Right.
And so I was around, you know, woods and all that stuff, and never once, nothing like that ever happened. I mean, growing up, nothing even like skinwalker-wise or, you know, I didn't have any experiences like that growing up. It just didn't happen out there. And
right. And like
that
me.
was my skinwalker one just was later in life, but that one About scared the holy living shit right out of me. But
okay, you know what? Speaking of that, let's switch gears a little because
well, before we go there, I have one more question to ask before we get on the skinwalker subject. So when you were out there, did you not go the next day to look for tracks, maybe because of a fear factor that was in place and you weren't sure what may still be out there? Or what was the reason that you didn't? You know, you said you heard like a dog, the yelp, like some people have said, the dogs go out there. Some dogs are even afraid to leave and go out there. But for some reason, you heard the dogs out there. You heard a yelp, like one got killed. Probably did. And the next day, you just packed up and went out. Was it maybe subconsciously something inside you said, I'm not going out there?
Well, whenever, you know, the girlfriend woke up and all that stuff, and I didn't even try to explain it to her. I'm like, because she got up and she says, well, what time did you get up? I said, kind of stayed up, you know, since about 1 or 2. And she's like, what are you doing awake? I said, I just couldn't sleep, you know, just kind of one of those. And I didn't quite know how to explain what the hell had happened, because it hadn't made sense in my mind yet. And so I guess in my looking back at it, I couldn't figure out what had happened, so I didn't think to go out and look for, you know, tracks and, you know, evidence out there. It just, and I wish I would have. Now, you know, it's one of those, well, why didn't I go look? You know?
Right. But
take your phone out there, go see if you can find some tracks, go see if you can find something. And
but what,
yeah, no, I was really freaked out. I mean, I really was. It just,
okay.
I was shaken up. I didn't really quite know what to do, and so the second it got up, we kind of made breakfast, and then we kind of bailed. We hauled ass.
But see, a lot of people, like especially the non-believers, they don't get that. When something like that happens, I didn't think about looking for tracks. I didn't think about my cell phone. Nothing.
Well, I just take it like when you told me about your encounter, you just got the hell out of there. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So, and like you said, you've never heard anything like this, so it was your first encounter. And it did take me a while to get him to go back up there to show me where it was, what spot it was at. So, you know, it wasn't just, let's go. I had to coerce him into
Right. It took a lot of liquid courage, too.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. A little bit of Coors Light.
No, more than a little.
A lot of Coors. And when we go up there, you know, we do a lot of Coors Light. And it's, you know, and I always wonder, because I haven't had the full-on experience, and I wonder, am I going to be the same way? Am I going to just want to get the hell out? Or since we're already out there and I've heard his experience and I've already heard activity, am I going to want to venture out past the campsite that next morning?
Yeah, and I told him, well, we go out to our spot, and I've showed him 20 yards. That's how close they were to us. They were close and screaming. I mean, screaming, both of them, and one of them was talking, shaking trees, and it was nuts, man. Right. It was just nuts. So that blew me away. I mean, you had your experience, but could you imagine they're close enough where you could see their eyes and stuff?
Yeah, see, mine was probably guessing 100 yards or better. I mean, it was it was far enough where I could hear, you know, I mean, but still close enough to where I just didn't, but I didn't really know what it was. I mean, it just sounds funny to explain it that way, but at that moment, I didn't know until my mind processed, you know, that it has to be, right, because it has to be a Bigfoot. There's no other explanation.
What other animal in the forest can grasp a tree limb and smack a tree with it
and make knocks?
Right.
Other than another human.
Right.
And as loud as that was, like I said, I've heard, you know, baseball bats slapping on stuff, and just, you know, you're a kid out there and you grab you a limb and, you know, a branch or whatever and hit alongside of a tree. It's not even close to that. It's it's like a telephone pole, you know, hitting a tree. I mean, it's like that loud, you know.
Exactly.
So that being said, now you're a believer that they exist.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
Right. I always tell people I'm not a believer. I'm a knower.
Right.
Yeah, I am 100% a believer in that one. Yeah, there's no doubt they're out there.
And, you know, that area, like you were in Wheatfield, but up near Farmington, I was telling my brother, and you probably heard us talk on the podcast, that it's a hot spot up there. It's a hot
Right.
spot, especially right there by the San Juan River and
Lower Fruitland.
your Fruitland. It's a hot spot, and people think, you know, that's kind of deserty and whatnot. I'm like, these creatures got to live too. So
Right.
But
what they don't understand the terrain in New Mexico.
Right.
They think it's all like
desert.
like Clint Eastwood desert, you know,
Right.
cowboy movie. And we do have areas like that. But like when we went for our bike ride up there, Tater, we were in the desert 1 minute, and a minute later we're in thick forest.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was just within, just seconds. It was just a big change. I mean, and there was what I've heard you guys talk about, and which I didn't know at the time, but I had moved to the state of Washington and did not realize. Now you guys talk about the hot spots and, you know, everything up there. I had no idea when I lived up there. I mean,
That's like one of the hottest spots.
In
yeah,
this
if I
country.
would have known at that time, you know, and because that was before my experience that I had. So,
Right.
yeah, so I moved up there in like 2006 or 7, something like that. So I could have been exploring up there and, you know, probably really got the shit scared out of me even before then. So,
Or you may have been eaten.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
And, you know, people I talk to that live in the Washington area, and I just talked to one guy recently, and he said, yeah, I used to live in Washington. And he said the trees are so thick you can't even see. There are trees everywhere. And I'm like, well, that's why this must be a hot spot.
This is going to sound funny to say, but there'd be winters where it would snow, not very often up there, but it would snow. People would slide off the roads,
Right.
and they would fall into such thick trees. It would take them like 2 weeks. Nobody would ever find them. They'd find it. People would go missing, and they couldn't find them. They just, it was crazy to me. I'm like, can't be that hard to find them. People, it's on along the road right there, and
Right.
sure enough, it was just that thick. You couldn't even see them. So
Dense forest, man. Dense forest.
exactly.
Now, our sister has been up there several times to Washington because her husband has family up there. And she always brings us back all kinds of Bigfoot stuff. When you're up there, did you see that plastered everywhere, Bigfoot?
You know, I didn't. Looking back at it, I'm a huge Seahawks fan.
I was
so
going to say you had tunnel vision on them Seahawks.
I did. I was such a Seahawks fan, and growing up around here with all the Cowboy fans, Vince.
Well,
So-
that's a sore spot because you guys killed our one Super Bowl chance back in the Romo era.
That's when he fumbled the ball. We greased up that ball pretty good, Dale, didn't we?
Yep. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
about that. Come on, let's stay on subject.
Yeah. So while I was up there, I don't remember seeing it, you know, anywhere, like in, you know, souvenirs, or I don't remember seeing it anywhere.
Let me ask you this. Since you've had this, have you told your girlfriend why you were up? Have you told her what really went on?
You know, it's funny when you ask that question, because it wasn't very long ago that I had told her, a couple of weeks ago, whenever we started talking about, well, Vince has been trying to get me on here, and I've been trying to get up there. It's been one of those, we're trying to get our schedules, you know,
Right.
together to do this and talk about this episode. And
Right, and
so finally I said,
the initial plan was to get him in here so he could drink with us.
Okay.
right, exactly. I mean, this is how long it's taken. So I literally, within probably a week or two ago, we were narrowing this down, that, you know, I could get on and do this podcast with you guys, that
Right.
I actually sat down and told her the story. And that's the first time I told her exactly what had happened.
What was her reaction?
She just kind of looked at me a little weird, and she's like, I didn't hear a thing. I said, nope. And I wasn't about to wake you up. So,
Yeah.
but she didn't say she didn't believe me.
Right.
She didn't say, you know, she just, so I don't know. It's kind of hard for her to, I guess, you know, comprehend what had happened, because she slept through it. But
Right.
Yeah,
like you guys talk about with like paranormal stuff, and people can sleep right through it and not having a clue that's even going on. So
No,
Yeah.
they can, and It's just crazy how some people get the experience and others sleep right through it.
Right. So let me ask you, Tater, have you been up there since then?
I have not. I have not been back since.
Other than the bike ride?
Other than the bike ride, but the only reason I haven't been there is because I've moved down to Las Cruces since. So
right.
I've relocated out of the area, and
so you kind of switch gears from Sasquatch to aliens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're down in this part, and
oh, definitely.
I don't hear anything about any sightings. The only place I could think of they would be around here would be like the Ruidoso area.
Well, actually, there's a man that lives in El Paso, Mr. Smith. He sent me some information about. It's been a while, but there's been sightings. One good, solid sighting there in the El Paso area, and he went to the area where the sighting was, and he sent me an email describing everything, and he took a trip to see what the area was. So I believe it or not, they must pass through there.
Well, the areas that happen to be like, oh, sorry, I don't know the name of the highway coming from like Carlsbad area. It's
like the White Sands.
Well, even back through that part, yeah. But I mean, because that's pretty much flat and deserty through there. But
right.
But coming through like from Carlsbad, you can come in towards El Paso. There's quite a bit of mountains back through that area. That's the only place out of El Paso I could think of.
The Oregon mountains.
Well, I'm right by the Oregon mountains. They're right here in Las Cruces.
Right.
And then that's kind of on what we call the Highway 70 towards White Sands. So.
Right. And then you've got the Trans Mountain area.
The Trans Mountain area. But I mean, people just get lost on that mountain, and I can't figure that one out either all the time. So
I can't either. I just can't. I'm like, how do you get lost on Trans Mountain?
Yeah, I can't comprehend that one.
But
it happens every year.
These creatures, they could pass through anywhere. Don't mean they stay there in habitat, but passing through. Look at we've had supposedly sightings here in the Sandias, but I've never been to the back of the Sandias, just on the Albuquerque side until recently, and I always thought Sasquatch in the Sandias. I don't think so. But then me and my brother took a ride to the back of the mountain, and it's pretty thick over there.
It is thick.
Like going toward Madrid and.
Right, I went on a bike ride. I went to a bike rally type thing back there one time, and probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe now.
Right.
Something like that.
And it's feasible they could pass through there up through what is on the other side of the highway, the Manzano Mountains, and
right.
And who knows? I mean, I've heard stories of them being in cities. Well, when we were young, there was a story of one going through Gallup.
Right. They supposedly there's a little neighborhood called Mossman, and supposedly the sightings where it was walking right through the neighborhood.
Wow.
And I could see that because really not too far from Gallup, we're surrounded by, of course, the reservation, but it's woodly spotted. There's woods here, woods there, and it could make its way to Cibola National Forest.
Or the Continental Divide.
Or the Zuni Mountains real quick.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, now looking back, I'm like, it probably was true, not a hoax.
Right, and most people, when they're on I-40 or even just driving, they're focused on the highway.
That's right.
I mean, that's why they could be on the side of the road you wouldn't even know.
Right.
Now, me, after everything I've been through, I scan the sides of the road a lot.
Yep. I look at, as I'm traveling, I look at everything a lot differently now. When I'm in the forest, my line of sight is totally different.
Right, and you're when you learn about what to look for, you look for different things. A lot of hikers, they hike and they always look down at their footing, and when we're up there, we stop, we look at our surroundings, and that's how we found that structure a few weeks ago.
Right.
Is that the one you put on your guys' page there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
That was pretty wild. I mean,
right. Now I know
what else could make that? Right.
I know a person who works for Bandolier, and I want to say somebody over there found one of those structures, because when she asked me how many we found, and it was just one.
So she knows that there's more than one out there.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to her last night, and and she told me her boss heard tree knocks. I think it was her boss, and she goes, "He's a serious guy. He don't joke."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but anyway,
But they're up there. They're
right.
Up there.
We wanted to get into your other skinwalker thing, but how would you feel about coming back?
Whenever you guys want me back,
Can you make it up here by midnight?
I can be there. I leave right now.
Yep.
That's right.
Why don't you hang on and we'll talk after we close out the podcast, and we'll schedule round 2.
That's right.
You got it. Sounds
All right.
good to me.
All right, so hold tight, Tater. We'll talk to you after a minute. But I just want to give a shout out to Jeff. Jeff in Rhode Island. I just read your email, and I thank you for reaching out to us. And you are totally right. Me and my brother are going to talk about what you suggested on the Sasquatch and their mobilization. And I told you, look out for that episode. It's going to come at you. We appreciate you listening. I appreciate the email. And hey, when you said we're in the top 5 with you, that made me feel good.
Right on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what we want to share with you tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. And
Yep. We'd like to thank Tater. A
That's
big
right.
shout out for Tater.
big shout out for Tater. And we're going to come back with Tater. He's going to give us number 2. And we don't mean dropping a deuce. We mean the second episode with Tater.
All right. And hopefully he'll do some camping, or maybe he'll run into some alien stories down there.
That's right. So we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And stay tuned. We're going to bring you more.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace. Hey, thanks for watching.
We hope all you YouTubers enjoyed the show.
That's right. And don't forget to reach out to us at cryptidcrossroads505@gmail.com.
Peace.
Peace.